Blockchain is a breakthrough technology that is driving innovation across industries. Most major Fortune 500 companies, from retail and finance to automobiles and airlines, are already exploring blockchain technology for its possible benefits in business operations and security. In this talk, we will discuss the current state and use case of enterprise adoption. Our guest is an eminent voice on blockchain globally. He pioneered the first interbank implementation of blockchain technology. Please meet Raj Chowdhury.
Hi Raj, thank you very much for being here with us today. Would you like to share a bit about your background, what brought you to the blockchain world, and what did you do before?
Sure. So for the greater part of my career, for 15 years, I spent in the Silicon Valley in California, and entrepreneurship and technology had always been my passion. And earlier, we had run a few successful internet ventures, and also a renewable energy venture, in which we had a bidding platform called SmartBid. We had an e-commerce business called Shop a Block, and we also had an energy business, which is also currently profitably running, which installs solar panels and makes electric vehicle charging stations. So we had been entrepreneurs as a team for a while, and in about 2014, we saw this crypto space sort of emerge with the launch of several wallets such as Coinbase and Kraken and a few of the early players. And we got very interested in cryptos and in crypto trading. When I say we were a couple of founders that were always looking at new opportunities and also running the ones that worked out for us. So that's where we took interest in the crypto market, and that's how we started. In around late 2014, 2015, I came back to India, and in India, I was offered the position with the ICICI Bank, which is one of the largest private sector banks in India. And when I was interviewing with them, they were very keen on blockchain implementations. And I basically proposed them about blockchain, and they seemed to be very interested in that. So as a technology innovation head, I thought that's a great opportunity to lead a bank towards blockchain and do a real implementation in a financial organization of that size. So the next year, following that year, we did the first implementation of remittance and trade finance between ICICI Bank in India and Emirates NBD in Dubai, in the UAE. That was one of the first of its kind globally, and it was the first in India as well as in the UAE. From there, the company Hashcash Consultants started around 2014 timeframe, where the company was in consulting space. As you see from the name, it says Hashcash Consultants. So it was having a few consulting contracts in 2014, 2015, because at that time, financial organizations were really looking at blockchain as a new technology for them. Then gradually, with the success of the ICICI Bank and Emirates NBD's blockchain implementation, we gathered a team. Many of them were inspired to join Hashcash. So many of the key founders of this company is from the ICICI Bank, Emirates NBD teams, as well as the technology player we used to implement blockchain there. So we transformed the company from just a crypto company. We today have the operator payment processor that we white label for various corporations and banks, which is called Bill Bitcoins. And we also have an exchange called PayBito that's launched in the US and India. From there, we also diversified into blockchain portfolio and working with financial organizations, right? So we have today over 60 plus global banks around the world that are part of the Hashcash network, HCNet. And we also have many corporations that are part of the network. So we also do, setting up network for corporations as well, similar to HCNet, which will interoperate with our network, eventually creating a very large ecosystem of participants on the overall blockchain, all these independent blockchain networks that come together to interoperate, right? So that's how we landed there, and we had quite a few successful projects going on with some of the banks spread across the globe, from Russia to US, Canada, to the remittance originating geographies such as Australia, New Zealand, to the remittance receiving countries such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and a few of these sites.
Wow.
So, right. So we were pretty well covered in the remittance space as far as the network effect goes.
Well, it might be surprising for our viewers to learn that large corporations, especially banks, and also companies like Toyota, Walmart, Air France, several large banks, as you mentioned, in telecoms, they are already taking a leap toward blockchain. Can you tell us what potential do they see in the technology? Why are they making this transition?
Right. So if you look at the very core of what blockchain is, of course, it gained popularity through the Bitcoin network, as we all know. But what effectively blockchain is, right? So blockchain helps you establish that a transfer of value has happened from party A to party B over a network, right? This was not possible before, because in the past, if you want to send me money, you have to have trusted organizations, right, to do a transfer. So it'll come from your bank to my bank. So you are trusting your bank for the transaction, I'm trusting my bank. So we need to establish trust between the transacting party through two financial organizations, right? With the advent of blockchain, what is happening is we no longer need those entities to establish trust between us, right? That is how the Bitcoin network works. So it's a peer-to-peer transfer mechanism between two participants in the network, and the miners sort of work towards doing the proof of work, holding the proof of work, and establishing the trust. So it's a distributed trust creating system, right? So we have used that to transfer Bitcoins, which is essentially nothing but a currency on top of a blockchain network, right? So now if you translate that idea from Bitcoins and extend and extrapolate it to assets, for example, right? Or even land registries, what are you effectively doing? Now you are able to transfer assets from one transacting party to the counterparty over a network without having a middleman, right? This is one application in the world of finance. So it doesn't have to be limited to just currencies such as Bitcoins. It could be any kind of documents where you want to essentially establish the authenticity of the document, the parties that are transacting on the document. You can establish, as well as fraud protection that blockchain gives you inherently. So all those benefits you get, not just for transfer of currency, but also for any kind of assets, right? Now, there is a different set of application for manufacturing industry, for example, which we call the provenance, right? So essentially, in the manufacturing industry, we all know about recall, right? For example, in the automobile industry. So we'll hear that, Toyota is recalling 5 million cars because of this defective part, right? The problem here is, it might be a small problem with a flange or a nut somewhere, with, which is inside a part, which is inside another part, right? But Toyota as a company has no visibility of that part where it resides, right? So now they have to recall 10 million cars, when actually probably the problem lies with maybe 100 cars, right? So with blockchain, if you're able to get your supply chain on the blockchain to participate, then Toyota would have entire visibility of the supply chain down to that nut or flange that is defective. So instead of recalling 10 million cars, they would be able to recall maybe 100 cars, right?
So essentially, it saves time to do the operations.
Right, very much right. Absolutely right. So it gives you this operational efficiency If you compare that with the Bitcoin network, it's very similar. In the Bitcoin network, you are able to trace the path of a Bitcoin from its origin to its current point. So you just translate that idea into the automobile industry to trace parts, and that's the very popular use case called provenance. Now, automobile industry is just one industry that can take advantage of the ability to track original parts. Now you can extrapolate that further to, let's say, the pharmaceutical industry, right? So we have a lot of fake drugs floating in the market today, and we are not able to establish their authenticity. Now, if you were to be able to track those drugs to its origin, right, and you are able to establish that it's coming from the right manufacturer, the pharmaceutical company, then it would take away the problem of fake drugs and maybe save million lives, that we are losing today because of fake drugs. Now, beyond this, since you pointed out quite a few industries there with Walmart and a few other companies that you mentioned, so you can imagine this extension everywhere. That is why blockchain is so widespread today, because you can extend the applications everywhere. It's a fundamental technology, right? So you can create your systems based on blockchain.
So can you explain what the difference is between those private blockchains within large corporations and the decentralized blockchains like Bitcoin? And essentially, do we need cryptocurrency on a private blockchain? Can you share a bit about that?
Absolutely, that's a very interesting question, because a lot of people ask me that question, and it's very critical to understand differences between private and public blockchain. Now, first difference is typically a private blockchain is a permission blockchain, where if you want to join the network, you need permission from the other network participants. It could be based on different business policies and rules, but essentially the permission blockchain. Compared to public blockchain, anyone can join, right? Anyone can join a public blockchain. So the second reason why public blockchain, the second difference between public and private blockchain is that if you really look at the Bitcoin system, the miners who are using the proof of work really do not know you and me, right? Or the transacting parties. So they have no incentive to mine for the transaction unless they were rewarded with Bitcoins and a transaction fee, right? In a private blockchain, however, the participants may not need to be incentivized because they have a business understanding with each other. So you can move away from the proof of work, which consumes a lot of electricity, as you all as we all know. So private blockchains typically do not need mining to happen, because the transacting party and the validating parties know each other, and they have business rules and policies. In case one of them turns out to be a bad actor, we would immediately know who that is, right? And we can penalize them. Compared to a public blockchain, the miner doesn't. You have to have an ecosystem, right?
But essentially, this means that people need to have trust into that company, into that business that is using the private blockchain. So people have to. There is still. So here, what we are losing the idea of trustless here, I think, on a private blockchain, because it's no longer dependent on people, on decentralized governance, but it's dependent on a particular group of people, and we still need to have trust in that particular group of people.
Great question. So now, in a private blockchain, you are spreading the trust among the validating nodes. So in a private blockchain, you are either creating a quorum or a quorum slice for validation to happen, right? So your transactions are not just validated by one party, but a set of validating nodes, right? So it is semi-decentralized, if you will, right? Versus in a public blockchain, you are spreading it out among the miners. It's just that you have a larger set of miners there who are the validating parties, right? So here you have a public blockchain where you have a few million miners, and here you have a private blockchain where you have maybe a dozen validating nodes. Validators are parallels of miners in a private blockchain, right? When you compare that with the public blockchain. So it is still decentralized. It's just that the number of validators are much smaller compared to a Bitcoin network. But the essential point is you do not need proof of work to be executed by the validators because they are known. They are known participants in the network. Compared to the Bitcoin network, the miners are may not be known. They could be anywhere in the world, right? So you take a open decentralized system and you create, if you will, a semi-decentralized system.
So can you speak about the current state of the blockchain adoption at large corporations? Is it still in pretty much in research and development stage, or will we see more working products this year?
There had been a lot of progress last year and this year in the blockchain space in terms of blockchain project implementation. I think currently we are working with at least a dozen financial organizations that are moving to production, and a few of them are already in beta production with HCNet. We also have several corporations that are working with us to set up their own blockchain networks. And there is another set of companies or corporations that are working to tokenize their product and services, right? And this is a very popular market right now where any company with a product or a service to offer in the market would have their own tokens, and they would want those tokens to be traded in the market as well. So what we are doing these, the way we are helping these corporations out is we are setting up their own blockchain network, and we are setting up their own native asset of their blockchain network, and we are extending our HC line of products that they can use for corporate payments, or retail remittances, or various types of business-to-business payments, wage disbursements, and several other applications which are essentially customizations of HC remit and HC corporate payments. In addition to that, we are listing their tokens up in our exchange window, which is in the US and in India. So this is also another set of very popular projects that we are, we have taken to production this year already, and we have a pipeline that which we have ahead of us.
So can you give an example of companies doing tokenization? What kind of companies can do that? Is it suitable for any kind of companies, or maybe just a few examples would be good.
So not just companies, actually any individual, maybe a consultant with a service to offer, can even tokenize his services. And any company with any product and service can essentially tokenize. It's
so
really...
What's the benefit of this? What was the purpose? What's the benefit?
Right. So this is parallel to the ICO world, right? IPO world, which you used to have. So the companies that are helping corporations do this are the new age underwriters of the ICO revolution, right? So we used to have IPOs, right? Now we have ICOs. So, IPOs are immensely cumbersome, complex processes, and ICOs are relatively simpler, less heavier, and you have much more liquidity in the market. So you could have your token out there in the exchanges, and you can exchange that with Bitcoins or Ethers or any of the other coins that you have, right? Lisk or Economy. So you could have liquidity between cryptos. So it's like if you could send me Apple stocks and I will send you back Microsoft stocks, it's that easy, right? So you are having trading pairs between tokens, right? So it makes it much more easier for trading to happen, gives a much higher liquidity, makes it very simple for companies to raise money, right, from the market. So you can imagine this as a new age underwriting process of IPOs, which are ICOs.
Yeah, but essentially with regulation, will that liquidity be affected?
The answer is yes and no. Yes, you are right that with regulations, there will be more regulations, first of all. Let's agree on that. And we are not going to have a world of anarchy where there'll be no regulations and everything will be controlled by free market, regulation-free market. I don't think that's what the world holds in the future. Okay, I think they would be regulated, but then let me take you back to the fundamentals of blockchain and crypto here. Why do we have more liquidity? Because again, you are able to transact without having intermediaries, right? Or less number of intermediaries in the middle between the transacting parties. So you will not completely lose liquidity because the fundamental of crypto is you're able to do a peer-to-peer transfer without having another organization established first, right? So that fundamental would somewhat remain still and will retain the liquidity of cryptocurrency.
Okay, well, I guess my question was more about the tokens that are categorized as utility right now. And a lot of companies are going that way to avoid the regulations. But essentially, when everything becomes regulated, all those utility tokens, they wouldn't be, maybe it wouldn't be possible to exchange them for cash. So in that sense, they won't be very liquid. They would be mostly interchangeable, let's say in between themselves, but not really for cash. Is that anything that you see coming?
No, I think actually with regulations, it would be easier to interchange them with cash. Because if you look at many of the exchanges today, right, they are not hooked up with a bank account. They are purely trading platform between cryptos. And part of the reason is the market is not regulated well. It is very difficult to open a bank account for a crypto exchange in certain regions of the world, right? It's very difficult for certain cryptocurrency exchanges, payment gateways, payment processors. Like in the e-com transaction, when you go to pay a merchant, you can put your card details there and the payment happens, right? But in the world of cryptos, it's very difficult to get a payment processor and a payment gateway that will let you do that, right? That would integrate with you. So I think with the regulations coming into play, we will see a world where interchanging cryptos with cash would get easier.
Okay, interesting. All right. So, well, as we are coming to a close, would you like to share your look on how the industry have changed since you first got involved with it, and when do you think it's headed from now?
So I think when we started, it was more of knowledge gathering sessions for these enterprises where they would want to hear from many blockchain companies, learn and understand. And also among the blockchain players, there was less understanding of applications. They were more on the blockchain platform focused players. Now we see the emergence, at least with our company, we are heading towards we have always been a very application oriented company. From the get-go, we not just focused on the blockchain platform, but we focused on retail remittance applications, we focused on corporate payment applications, payment processing applications, market maker applications. So that transformation is happening as we see more and more with many other blockchain companies. So I think the outlook for blockchain, both blockchain as well as cryptocurrency, is, I would say, fairly optimistic. At this point in time, it's an absolute certainty that we are at the verge of a complete disruption and transformation of the way we transact, and as well as the way we move assets across the world, the way central banks, create, the value of national currencies, the way governments control the flow of money. There'll be serious disruptions in each and every aspect of life. So just imagine a world where you could buy, sell, trade assets with anybody at any corner of the world over a network without being limited by anything. So this is the impact of just extrapolate the idea of ICO. So I think the outlook for both blockchain and cryptocurrency going forward is fairly optimistic. I think in the crypto space, there'll be several massive disruptions that we will see going forward. One is in the area of payments. I think 3 to 5 years down the line, majority of the payments in the e-commerce space would happen through cryptocurrencies. I see disruption happening in the area of remittances, where already we have a significant amount of global remittances happening using cryptocurrencies, both using Bitcoins and the distributed decentralized cryptos, as well as now that we see the advent of government issued cryptocurrencies, you will see that also playing a role in global payments and retail remittances. And you could have your own cryptocurrency, right, against your product or service, right? Essentially, this would devalue the national currencies as well, right? So you would not need national currencies anymore, or their prevalence would become less relevant, right? So you are in turn pegging your currency with the native asset of the platform you're using. For example, if you launch an ICO on HCNet, you'll be using HCX, right? If you launch your currency on Ethereum, you'll be using Ethers, right? As a native cryptocurrency to which you would peg your coin or token, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're starting to peg your token with the native asset of these blockchain platforms. Now compare that with pegging national currencies with euros, dollars, and other currency baskets. So the world is shifting towards that direction. So I think these are the three major areas. One is in the area of coin offerings, the other is in the area of remittances, and the third is in the area of payments. That I see there will be massive disruptions going forward on the crypto side. On the blockchain side, we will see a lot of implementations happening with the enterprises. So now the reason I distinguish blockchain and cryptocurrencies in this particular context is that you can use blockchain and not use cryptocurrencies for settlement, right? Or you could use blockchain and use cryptocurrencies for settlement. Okay, so both would happen. We would see cases where there'll be implementation of blockchain without settlements happening on cryptocurrency. It might still happen on the conventional channels, right? And we would also see settlements happening on the cryptocurrency channel. So we'll see both. So I feel going forward, decentralization is a new distribution of wealth. I think it's unifying the world in one monetary union. In conclusion, I think it's creating a true free market. and it's creating a world without borders.
I hope so. Well, thank you very much, Raj, for this conversation. I'm sure it was very helpful for everyone watching us. I should have said that with video on. All right, let me just go over. Thank you very much, Raj, for being with us and for this conversation. I'm sure it was very helpful and useful to everyone watching. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I think it was such a pleasure being here, and hopefully some of the experiences that I shared today would help the enterprises as well as people in this space in taking this the idea of blockchain and cryptocurrency forward, and trade into a brave new world.
Thank you.
Thank you.